Okay. First episode, me ranting. So, new episode of Digital Circus comes out, right? New episode, it's fire. And to me, at least, it is incredibly clear what this show is about. It is crystal clear. And yet, no one I know, no one I've seen on the internet has come to this conclusion. No one. I haven't seen it. The only people who agree with me is people I've shown the theory to. I feel like I'm going insane. I feel like it's very crystal clear what this is. I study storytelling. Okay, I don't really like... Well, that's not true. I do study storytelling. I love analyzing films. I love seeing what things are an allegory for. I love making my own little stories in my head about what things are an allegory for. I love the medium of storytelling in that way. So it pisses me off. It pisses me off that no one else sees it. Because I'll be real, I cannot see a world where this is not the point of the show. This is not the point of the show. I'm trying my hardest to like see other perspectives, and I don't get it. I don't get it. So I'm talking about Digital Circus, right? The other perspective I see. Actually, I should probably explain what my perspective is. My perspective is that Caine and the circus as a whole is a big metaphor for capitalism. Because, like, it makes all the sense in the world. Caine is like the ringleader. He doesn't listen to the circus members. He has a big ol' ego. And this whole time, Goosework said that the main conceit of the show, the main message, is finding meaning in a stagnant life. Who creates that stagnant life? Caine. Caine creates that stagnant life by putting them through adventures. And those adventures leave them tired and leave them emotionally scarred, or like leave them just all feeling bad. Just all feeling bad. All feeling bad, tired, what have you. Tell me that the constant stress and like things that Caine puts the circus members through on the daily does not remind you of real life and how you go to school or go to your 9 to 5 and you come home feeling tired and burnt out. And I made a whole Google Doc of like comparisons. I can spill comparisons over and over. Let me think of some. It sounds like I don't have any, but I do. I do. Just like, probably gonna cut this out. Long silence. Long, awkward silence. Yeah, there's more. So, Zubul is a big component in this. when Caine is having his like therapy session with Zubul, he does not care about Zubul's feelings. He does not care. He's simply wondering what he can do to get Zubul back on track on his adventures. This is exactly like therapy in real life. Therapy is mostly just used to get people in a mental state where they can keep working, where they can keep going to school, where they can keep working for the system. And this continues. Zubul is seen to be very, very revolutionary. Well, not revolutionary. Yeah, I guess you can say that. Not particularly revolutionary, but like they're outwardly queer, and they really don't like what Caine's doing with the circus. And they are the one that Caine particularly doesn't like. The fact that they're outwardly queer, and the fact that they have these problems that Caine does not know how to solve properly. And that they just like don't like Caine's whole like shtick. Like they don't like the adventures. They don't like going on them. And their ideal version of the circus is one where you could just go on any adventure whenever you want. Sure doesn't sound like capitalism to me. I don't know. Thinking Zubul's kind of a revolutionary, or working revolutionary. But there's more to it than that. I touched on it before, but like a lot of Caine's like actions in the show directly make me think about just like how fragile just like billionaires in general, just like everything about them. Not only is his design very like reminiscent of billionaires, like he kind of looks like a Monopoly Man type character, like someone like that. I know he's supposed to be a ringmaster, but still, actually that just makes the point work even more, because he's the ringmaster, he's the owner. Caine created this circus, and the circus is completely artificial. He is completely made by him. He made the circus. It's his circus. Everything in it is completely artificial. He can conjure up anything at any moment. The truth and anything going on in the circus and how it works is completely up to him. But also, it's not. It's also completely up to the circus members, because they can also conjure things. They can also conjure things, but they don't really notice it. They don't notice it until Caine directly points it out. This, again, mirrors real life. We all think that things like money, social structures, gender, all of that, we all think it's like this set in stone thing that only people in power can create up. Like power structures, governments, that community, it's only a thing a government can create, apparently. But like, we do it all the time. we've already created like we can create our own currencies. We can create our own genders. We can create our own communities, our own governments, if we really wanted to. But it feels like the people in power, that they only have that control. But we also have the control. We always had the control to like, because all of this is just like manufactured. Like, money is manufactured. It doesn't mean anything. Gender is manufactured. A lot of things are manufactured. And we can manufacture that too, because there's no difference. We can change the definition of anything. We can change anything. So, yeah, that directly mirrors what happens in the digital circus. And there's more to this point. There's Jax. Jax directly affects this point. And to like emphasize what this means, we need to talk about like the red and blue symbolism, and you probably already know where I'm going with this. Red is a color specifically tied to capitalism and right-wing politics. And blue is commonly considered left-wing politics and communism. So, in the show, obviously, there's the red and blue buttons. And I was going to talk about Jack, but I'm going to talk about this first. Abel is a Democrat. Stay with me. Abel is a Democrat because Abel acts. Actually, I'm on the edge if Abel's like a regular Democrat or it's like a democratic socialist, because I feel like it works more if they're a democratic socialist. But also, I think part of it also doesn't work. But I think it also does. Just keep in mind both ideas. So, Abel is like, I can get you out of the circus. And in my mind, the circus is like, getting out of the circus is freedom. Freedom from the circus. And Caine. And in an allegory, that would be freedom in general. Just like freedom from the system. Freedom from like everything. And Abel's like, I can get you freedom. I can get you out of the circus. And Abel's like, out in the open. He does this whole plan to get them out of the circus. Like, out in the open, where Caine just can easily see them. Can easily like stop them at any point. Because he's not real. He's not real. Abel is not real. Abel is an NPC. For some reason, my friends just like don't believe that Abel is an NPC. If you're watching this, you know you are. But so Abel, completely out of the open, Caine can see all of this. Just like leads them to like has this whole convoluted plan to get them out of the circus. And he leads them to the buttons in the back, of which are red and blue. Abel was like, we're leaving the circus. So obviously he'd bring me to this button room, and that they'd obviously want to push the blue button. See, they'd obviously want to push the blue button because that's the one that makes them leave the circus. But Jax Jax pushes the red button, and I'll tell you why this is significant later. Jax pushes the red button, screws over the circus members, and it is revealed that Abel was working with Caine the whole time. It is revealed that no matter what button they pushed, nothing was going to change. And I do think that. I don't think that Shrimp Town is the real world, because that's stupid. That's stupid. What does that add? They're not going to go back and push that button. What, they're not... Why would you... That doesn't make any narrative sense. It does... I'm not going on this tirade. I'm not going on this tirade. It's obvious he's not real. It's obvious. But... So, yeah. I think this is gonna sound crazy. But actually, do I need to explain Jax before I explain that? I think I do. Okay. So keep that all in your noggin. All the Abel things. What happens with Abel. Jax is not a good person. He is abusive to everyone in the circus. Well, mostly everyone. He is an asshole. And the biggest thing of all, he gets away with it. Gets away with it. And you'll be like, oh, but everyone gets away with everything in the circus. But no one else is, like, actively a jerk. Jax is actively a jerk. And he gets away with it. Zubul doesn't get away with criticizing Caine. Zubul gets, like, zipped up and like yeah, but Jax doesn't get like any repercussions for what he does. And you might say in episode 8 he gets tortured. That's not because of his repercussions. He's torturing everyone. He doesn't make a difference. But like, yeah, Jax does all these things and he doesn't get repercussions, especially in episode 4 where Gangle calls up Caine and he says he'll give them repercussions. And he gives no one repercussions. Even though Jax is being actively harmful. That is exactly how men benefit, specifically abusive men, benefit from the capitalist system. Because it's very clear that the capitalist system does not punish men. Very clear. So, yeah. And it's clear Jax knows this. Jax is aware he doesn't get any punishments. Because he's scared in episode 4 when he thinks he is going to get punished, but isn't. But he is still scared by the idea that he's going to get punished. So he knows he can get punished. And in episode 7, when Abel brings all the circus members to the button room, Jax is the one that pushes the red button. And this is speculation, but it is implied that he does not want to push the red button because there will be consequences. He doesn't want to push the blue button because there are consequences waiting for him on the other side. That he did something and he's going to have to pay the repercussions for it. That there will be consequences. And it's clear Jax doesn't want to live in a world where his actions have consequences. So, like, yeah, that's why he pushes the red button. And in the real world, that's how a lot of right-wingers think. They're like, I don't want repercussions for my actions. I don't want... Like, they go on over and over again about, like, ooh, cancel culture. But, like, it's because they don't want repercussions for their actions. They don't want to think about what they're doing and if it's wrong or not. They just want to do whatever they want with no repercussions. And that directly mirrors what Jax does. He pushes the big red button that there's, so he doesn't get any consequences. And this again, it directly mirrors it. Okay, this is gonna sound crazy because it directly depends on when this episode was written. It could have been written around this time, and even if it wasn't, it could have still like been like people could have had the foresight to think that was gonna happen. So like didn't really need to happen after the fact. But like I think what happens at the end of episode 7 with the buttons is directly in parallel to the 2024 election. I know that sounds crazy. The US election. I forgot the world exists. But like, yeah, it directly mirrors that election because Jax fucks over the whole circus, including himself. Jax screws everything up, completely like disregards what anyone else feels about the situation because everyone else wants to leave. He, for his own selfish reasons, pushes the red button that supposedly keeps them in the circus. We then find out after they pushed the buttons that it wasn't going to matter. It wasn't going to matter because everything was going to stay the same. Abel, who led them there, in the idea they would push the blue button, and it wasn't going to do anything. Because the Democratic Party, they work as like, yeah, they're just blue Republicans. Their main goal is to uphold the system of capitalism. And a lot of people don't think that. Or a lot of people know that, or they just don't care. But like, Abel was never going to get them out of the circus. Abel was always going to keep them within the circus. And no matter what, it was going to be the same. And this whole like comparison to the election is directly mirrored in the next episode where Caine starts going haywire. And that's the main thing that's making me think about all this. Caine goes completely haywire. He's like, these humans are, I am doing them a favor. I am doing them a favor by giving them all of these things that I think they would enjoy. And they are being ungrateful because they are criticizing me and they are disrespecting. And he starts going haywire and tortures them. A lot of the language in episode 8 directly mirrors the type of language you would hear today. Like all of this shit happening. It's clear we're in late stage capitalism. And the world is becoming more oppressive on purpose. Because that's what happens. They are more scared about an uprising, so they start oppressing the people that might fight back. And that's exactly what happens in episode 8. Caine is scared that the circus members are gonna fight back. So he starts like torturing them. He starts like making sure they don't fight back. they lower their self-esteem. They lower, like, they kind of make it feel like that they can't do anything. That they just have to, like, toughen out. But they're getting tired. The circus members are getting tired. This is amplified even before he goes crazy. Like, everyone's like, we need to abandon the idea of leaving the circus. And that's how a lot of people feel right now. Like, we have to abandon the idea of getting rid of the system and just, like, live for how long we can live for. And just, like, be there for each other. Because that's the thought process a lot of people are having right now. Like, about capitalism and this stuff. And then Zubul says something in this scene too. That, oh, they had goals. They had all these things. They had, like, ambitions. But because they are stuck in the circus, they can't achieve that. And that is like real life, where you have to give up a lot of your ambitions just to make a living. Because there are a lot of jobs that I know we would all like to have, but are either not financially feasible or just really hard to get into. So you have to work a 9 to 5 at McDonald's. So, yeah. So yeah, and then Gangle says, you made an impact in my life. And that's how I feel. Like, if I don't make an impact on anyone, on, like, the world, like, broadly, I would rather make an impact in someone's life. All very cut and dry. Last piece of evidence. Actually, I don't know if it's the last one. Oh, I'm getting winded. This is 27 minutes. 27-minute rant. And then, there's the red and the blue dots at the beginning of episode 8. The red dot is making all these things. Is generating all these things. How's that? And then this blue dot comes around. And remember what I said the symbolism for the red and blue dot. Red and blue are. And so the blue dot starts making things. And then the red dot gets jealous and absorbs the blue dot. And creates the circus. And using what we know, the implication that the red dot is Caine, of which is heavily implied, and the fact that the red and blue symbolism that I set up earlier, I think this is if not a direct parallel to, then at least supposed to, like, invoke the general idea of the fall of communism. Well, not particularly not fall, but, like, the falling out of favor of, like, the USSR and, like, the widespread reach that had. And, like, the fall of left-wing politics for just, like, globalism, capitalism. And I'm probably getting, like, terminology like this wrong. Because, like, yeah, I'm a little new. I'm a little new to this revolutionary stuff. So I'm gonna get, like, a lot of terminology wrong. But I would prefer if you corrected me, because I want to be better at this. And so, yeah, capitalism kind of ate up communism. in the late 1900s. That's, yeah, 1900s. And the late 20th century. And I think that's what it's supposed to be. And if you, looking at what Bubble says later in the episode, Bubble says, you were always the lesser of the two. You ruined this. Everyone hates Caine and his circus in the show. No one likes him. Caine is insecure about being the lesser of the two. Because if you think about it, actually, if you just don't think about it, honestly, it is very clear. Capitalism and right-wing politics are objectively worse than communism and left-wing politics. I might make a whole other rant about this. About how people, take both sides, both sides are bad. They're not. They're just not. But I can rant about that all day. But in the show, Bubble is like, you were always the lesser of the two. Because assuming the other one is what I think it is, then he is. He is the lesser of the two. And he did ruin this. Whatever this is, I'm not totally sure. And if Bubble is the blue dot, like a lot of people theorize, I think it just amplifies it even more. Because, like, okay, here's another part of the thing that I failed to mention. Caine likes sanitizing things and censoring things. He's like, oh, this is for all ages, and censors all the curse words. That is like how pretty much every company, well, most companies in capitalism, like, function. They want to keep this air of classiness, of cleanliness. They don't want to be seen as, like, dirty or messy or alternative, unless it's for a business practice. But, like, eventually you will hit a wall where you see the cleanliness. Like, you think of, like, Adult Swim, that's like, oh, that's not cleanliness. You're gonna hit the wall where, like, things are sanitized and things are cleanliness. Like, think of More Oral. That show was canceled because Adult Swim couldn't handle it. Okay. Rant aside, that's kind of like how Caine and the digital circus works. And Bubble is in direct opposition to that, despite not being a human, and by all accounts should be an NPC, but, like, they keep, like, cursing, they keep saying out of pocket things, and Caine keeps, like, putting him in check. Bubble also antagonizes Caine a lot, especially in that episode, and, like, a lot of other episodes, like in episode 5. And yeah, if Bubble was the blue dot, that would make a lot of sense, because Bubble is very antagonistic towards Caine. And, you know, left-wing politics, communism, that's very, very directly antagonistic towards capitalism and right-wing politics. So, yeah, it's kind of like what the main conceit of what I wanted to touch on. There's also, like, the whole like, complaints they toss at Caine when they're, like, trying to distract him from Kinger. All of that can be applied to capitalism and, like, a billionaire. All of it. I can't really remember what they said exactly, but, like, yeah, you can search it up. I'm getting tired. I spent way too long talking about this. I need to tell you why. I do not see any other way the story could possibly be interpreted. Because I like seeing other interpretations of things, but I cannot imagine another interpretation of this show. Like, I don't know if that's just a me thing or if I'm stupid, but like, I can't imagine it. Can you? I'm probably posting this to YouTube, so I want you to tell me, what is your interpretation of this show? Because I can't think of any other interpretations that make sense. My friend mentioned to me that they think it's an anti-AI commentary, and to a point it is. Like, just by the fact that Caine is the villain, and Caine is an AI. But like, that's all that really goes. Because like, if you continue with that train of thought, Caine is an AI. AI makes all these like images. I don't like cool images. And all these like other things. Caine makes the adventures and the circus and the NPCs. How narratively does that like compute to real life AI art and all of that? How is the adventures equivalent to all of that thematically? People don't like the adventures, but it's not because they're like artificial and they're not like, they don't feel real. It's because they're tiring and stupid and no one likes them. It's because they're tiring, they never fit what the circus members want. So yeah, it does not work under that lens. And there's also just not a lot of evidence for it. Like, yeah, they mention generative AI, like, out of the blue. Like, no, that's fucked up. It was like out in the open. Caine directly says they were working on generative AI that can like make anything. But clearly that's not like the problem, right? In the show. That's not like the main conflict, that Caine is making all these adventures. It's like the system of the adventures that they're forced to go on them every day. They don't really have a choice in the matter, and once they do, it's instantly thrown out because Caine feels jealous. That's not really equatable to AI art, like, at all. There's nothing about, like, oh, the circus doesn't feel... The circus is not like real life. It doesn't feel like real life. Like, obviously they want to go home. But, like, the main problem is that the circus is just shit. The system put in place by Caine is just bad by default. Not by default. It's not by default. It's bad because he makes it bad. It sucks because he makes it suck. So I do not get this idea that the show is about anti-AI. I don't get it. I think it is taking an anti-AI stance, again, because Caine is the villain, and he is an AI. But I genuinely... It's a very surface level. It's a very surface level. If you take it at face value, like, yeah, it's an anti-AI sentiment. Yeah. WALL-E is an anti-AI sentiment because the villain is an AI. I haven't seen 2001: A Space Odyssey, but that's also an anti-AI sentiment. That might be the whole point. I'm not totally sure. But again, there's a point to be made there. And yeah, I find it very surface level. It doesn't really have evidence to support it other than very surface level facts. I am racking my brain on other interpretations of this show that aren't just like, things happen because it's cool. Caine goes nuts because that's cool, and he's like, am. I don't get it. There's so many people that are like, well, it's just a show. It doesn't need to mean anything. You're looking too far into things. I think it's a stretch. Most of the things you watch are allegories for something. A good chunk of things you watch is an allegory for something. In the real world, it mirrors something in the real world. And that's on purpose. Because that's a big component of storytelling, especially fantasy storytelling. The thing in the fantasy world mirrors the thing in real life. That's how it usually works. You watch X-Men. It's about the mutants and how they're oppressed. In the real world, there are a lot of things that mirror the things that happen in X-Men. People have said that Charles Xavier is an allegory for, well, would it be an allegory if it's about a guy? A stand-in for MLK. And Magneto is a stand-in for Malcolm X. Now, I think the way they kind of do it, like, paints Malcolm X in, like, some weird light, but, like, I don't know. I'm not. I think that was probably the intention, but I don't really like that intention. Nimona. If you're watching this channel, you probably know. Big fan. I have analyzed that movie to bits. It is very staunchly anti-capitalist. It is very staunchly against the system in place. It is very staunchly pro-trans. Okay, that's a lot more obvious than the anti-capitalism of it all. But, like, yeah, you know. If you know that movie, you know. Things have messages. And I cannot think about how this show could have any other allegory than that. How Caine and the Circus is an allegory for anything but that. I don't get it. I don't understand. I don't understand. If you guys come up with something better, then I would love to hear it. I would love to hear extra examples, because I talk about this with my friends, and they always say, like, I don't really see it, but they never, like, other than the one that gave me the AI one, the anti-AI stance, they don't really give, like, what they think the point is. And I'm sitting here thinking, like, do you think the things just happen? Do you think this whole, like, circus thing is just ideologically just like, okay, I have these scissors because they're fidgets. It's a fidget. And I cut off split ends if I want to. Not for anything else. I feel like people are going to be worried about that. The scissors, they don't do anything. They're to cut off spinets if I want to. Okay. Where was I going with this? Yeah, they don't give me, like, what they think the thing's about. Because, like, obviously they see, like, Jax's problems, Gangle's problems, Regulus' problems, Zubul's problems. They understand what that's for. But they don't understand, they think nothing's going on but the circus and Caine. They don't think there's an allegory for that. And if they do, then, like, the allegory doesn't stand. It doesn't work. So, but mine works. Mine works. Mine accounts for pretty much everything. And I think, especially with what Gooseworks said, this series is, like, meant to portray, like, just, like, yeah, finding meaning in a stagnant life and applying that to, like, what we know about Caine and how that and the circus and how that applies to the real world, I think is very cut and dry, right? Because, like, stagnant life, what causes a stagnant life in the real world? What causes a stagnant life in the circus? Put two and two together and look at all the evidence, then you get a very clear picture about what the show's about. About what the show's, like, main allegory is. So, I don't know. I love to hear your interpretations. And did I convince you with my interpretation? Because I've convinced a lot of people with my interpretation. I haven't convinced my friends, though. They say they still don't see it. And I'm like, how? What do you see if you don't see that? Oh my god. I'm frustrated. But yeah, that's what I got. If I'll make more of these, I'm not sure. I'm thinking I will, because I've had the idea for this of, like, little rants about anything I want to rant about. I really like ranting about, like, Nintendo. You would probably see me as, like, that kind of person. And I love to rant about Nimona. I love that movie. And I've always wanted to talk, like, retrospectively about, like, how that movie, like, portrays the trans struggle and all of that stuff. And how it is staunchly anti-capitalist and all that stuff. I would love to discuss politics as a whole, because I love just sharing my opinions. That makes me sound like Charlie Kirk. It was sharing a political opinion. Like, no, I love sharing my thoughts and views. I'll make sure to distinguish which videos are, like, pop culture and me talking about movies and shows and Nintendo and, like, politics. So, like, you don't have to worry if you don't want to, like, hear about that. I think you should want to hear about politics, because it directly affects your life. So, but, like, if you're having, like, a rough time and, like, everything's already beating you down and you don't want to hear more about it, then, like, that's fine. But, like, yeah, I'd love to do more of these. If I'm posting this to YouTube, I think I probably will. I probably will edit out some stuff, because I had a lot of breaks and pauses, and I don't like breaks and pauses. They, like, cut the pacing. So, like, yeah. I will probably make more videos like this. Just me sitting down on the couch, because I don't like editing a lot. Editing is a huge chore. I don't like looking up, like, pictures to, like, put in my CapCut. I bet it would be a lot more fun with like a computer. I don't have a computer. I'm doing this all on my phone. But like, maybe if I had a computer, editing would be a little more fun. Because I always thought editing was more fun with the computer. But like, yeah. Who knows? I'd love to do more of these. It's me sitting down and like recording something. Because it's fun. Because it's fun. And also because I can't find more Namoto things to post. The well has run dry. Trust me, I checked like yesterday. There was nothing. Well has ran dry. So yeah. Sorry, this was a little long in the tooth. It's like 50 minutes. I love yapping. I love yapping a lot. I might do live streams. I feel like I would be a good live streamer. But I don't know. There has to be an audience for it. So, yeah. See you next time, I suppose. If I'd want to do more of these. So, yeah.